Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, a little bit of Madonna news. Going to cram into one video. First up, it was the 40th anniversary of Desperately Seeking Susan, and Madonna went to a screening somewhere, and she actually wore the jacket. You know, the jacket we all want to own. I guess she has the original. I mean, she's got a massive storage compartment and wardrobe or storage facility. So I'm guessing that was the original, and she wore it and she took some photos and she looked pretty awesome. She didn't look 20, but she looked pretty good. And now we come to a more complicated story, which everyone's talking about. Madonna and Elton. Now, Madonna and Elton have been fighting for a couple of decades now. I'm not sure how it started or when it started. It's mostly Elton being a bitch, really. It's just mostly Elton being a right bitch. When Madonna was nominated for Best Live Vocal for the Reinvention Tour, he was giving out the award and he scoffed at the idea of her singing live. Now, we all know she uses a track underneath, whatever they call it, and all that, but she does sing. I've seen her live, I've heard her live, and I was there at her Tears of a Clown show where she definitely sang that whole thing live, and she can sing. They usually just use like a backing track, wherever it is. Not a backing track, that's when you, that is when you lip sync. What do you call it? When you have like the audio and it's there, so you just sing over it. So if you fall over and miss a line or get pulled backwards off a giant prop by your cape and you miss a line, no one notices and thinks you're amazing because you kept singing when you actually didn't, because you're on the floor and your microphone was next to you. But, you know, the track kept going. That's a different thing altogether, and most people use that. But yeah, so he was a bitch about that, and there was a whole bunch of other little things along the way, like when she got nominated for Masterpiece, he was like, she doesn't have a chance in hell of winning. He was up alongside her while she won, and they put the camera on him. And it was so funny. His face was so funny. It was brilliant. Sorry. I keep seeing his face in my head. Okay, so yeah, so he just was bitching, and he was saying he had a little bitch to Molly Meldrum when they were doing an interview, and it was pretty nasty too, because him and Molly were talking, and he was bitching about Madonna to Molly, and it wasn't supposed to be in the interview, but the people who were filming it filmed it, and they're just like, oh, let's just release that little bit, just because, you know, why not? And it had him saying she was a CU, you know, whatever. Not that I ever call her that, you know. But he called her that and said she basically was dressed like a fairground stripper and her career was over and her tour was a failure. And now that was the, I think that was the, was that the Madam X tour? In which case it might have been true about that, because that was a disaster. But, you know, obviously she's toured since then, and the Celebration tour was amazing. But Madam X was a dismal failure. But I think he might have actually been talking about something earlier than that. But yeah, so that got released, and it wasn't meant to be. So he wasn't saying that publicly about her, but it went out publicly. And he's just said a whole bunch of nasty shit over the years. Didn't actually seem to make up a little while ago. And I'm like, well, that's nice, thank God. And because also Gaga is involved. Because Gaga and Elton are friends. Because Gaga, you know, of course she has to glom onto people like Elton. And then she befriended him. And then all of a sudden he really hated Madonna. And he'd go on about how horrible she was to Gaga. You know, and I think Gaga was his, that's how he says her name, was like his child's godparent or whatever. Like that's how far she got into Elton John's, you know, life. And I think she made it worse. And at some point, though, it was back on. I thought they'd made up, but then it was back on. I'm like, when was it back on again? Last thing I heard, they had a truce. And apparently Elton must have said something which I didn't hear. And then Madonna went to one of the Saturday Night Live. I don't know if it was the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special or just a recording of Saturday Night Live. But Elton was there, and Madonna just showed up because I think she was invited as a guest, and not like to perform, but just to chill out. And she went there because she knew Elton was going to be there, and she wanted to have a go at him. So she just, you know, waltzed into his dressing room, and before she could even have a go at him, he said, "Forgive me." And he basically said, "I've been a horrible person, I'm sorry," and now they're all lovey-dovey and everything's great. And it's like, I smell another dramatic turn of temperament. I think these two guys just have this story going just to keep themselves in the press. Like William Shatner and George Takei. Every time things get a bit slow, one of them bitches about the other, and it's international news. I think that's what they're doing. So they're just making up. They'll have another fight, and then they'll make up, and they'll have another fight, and they'll make up. And just as long as it stays in, the media, it's fine. But then again, Elton is getting older, and he does have some health problems. Maybe he's had an epiphany or two, and figured he may not be may not be going somewhere he wants to go if he's not very nice to people, or if he doesn't make amends to all the people he has been horrible to, and he's been mean to a lot of people because he was a nasty queen for a lot of decades there. So maybe just Madonna is the start of this, resurrection tour or something, but redemption tour or something. But I don't know. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think the truce is real.